What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your daily astrology horoscope for Monday, March 20th, 2023. Astrologer Brian Scarborough and Sterling. Keeping the collective fixed on astrology. Appreciate you all so much. Thanks for being here. And I hope you all had a great weekend. Hope everybody's doing well. Well, March 20th, this is today, 2:25 p.m. on the West Coast. We're going to see the sun ingress into Aries, where the sun is exalted, finds a lot of power here. This is illuminating beginnings. This is showing a start. We can feel like we're springing forward. We can feel like there's actually, substance and energy to a lot of life at the moment. A lot of things to start growing, a lot of things to start doing, and we're going to feel that push, feel that growth. But it's interesting, right? Because before we get just to that 2:25, we're going to see the sun finishing in Pisces this morning for really half the day, right? So it's going to feel very two-part day. There's so much that we're starting to go into. There's so much, this very palpable feeling that it can really feel like a new year. Like this astrological new year can feel more like a new year than I think any of the new years in the past, especially like this last calendar new year. You're going to feel like there's a new start in life right now. And I think that that's very amazing, but it can feel intense. The sun's going to be sextiling Pluto in Capricorn, and this Pluto is at the final minutes today. It's at 57, minutes, coming to 58 minutes. It's going to ingress on Wednesday. I can't believe it. So there's an intensity, but there's a sloppiness at the end of Pisces here. We have a dark moon in Pisces. That moon's going to finish off the day with Neptune and kind of start tomorrow with Neptune. It is making really good aspects to Uranus with a sextile to that Uranus and Taurus, but oh my goodness, there's definitely an erratic, sort of chaotic feel to some of the karmic resolutions that are taking place in life. Things can be definitely not going as planned. And I think the more we find comfort, hey, the more that we find comfort in sort of just where things are going, knowing that we can empower ourselves, knowing that we can find strength, courage, and make things happen, the better. But it does take a lot of faith. It does take a high spiritual awareness, a spiritual integrity. Saturn is in Pisces now too, so we're all having to really spiritually grow up. That's a lot of what this is about too. And I think Saturn in Pisces tests us of our spiritual integrity in ways that are we really being and acting from high spiritual character? And that's where we're all going to have to look at our lives and be at least am I doing that in a way that aligns me with myself, my soul, my purpose, my character? Those are all things we want to make sure that we're dialing up and paying attention to. But that's about the self, right? And Aries brings us to the self. We have a North Node in Taurus. And we have Venus in that North Node conjunct today too. So there's so much that is you have to know your character, your value, your worth. You have to feel confident in who you are and that you are really doing the best you can in life right now to bring value to this realm. And I think that as long as you're doing things that you feel spiritually in alignment with and integrity with and in character with, you're going to see so much good start, so much new push happening. And that can be overwhelming too, because it's going to be manifesting, but there's a big uncomfortable sort of notion too, because it really does test us. North Node Venus is a test. Not like a test like a Saturn kind of test, but we do have Saturn starting to make its sextile over to that North Node too. And we just saw Venus come off the sextile to Saturn. So, it does feel like a spiritual test in a lot of ways in our life, and how to, be in a high vibration within ourselves to still feel confident. But it's not like a confidence that I think it's not about pleasing everybody and everything and all this. It's definitely more about feeling just good about the things that you do and have done. And whether you do or do not, this is where we can resolve a lot of that. And then that can bring up the uncomfortable kind of feeling, if we're really feeling down or we're guilt tripping ourselves about something right now. These are great lessons for us to resolve this and work with these things. We have to come back to ourselves. And today's a big day to remember that it's your life and you have to take responsibility and accountability for it. The things we do unconsciously, subconsciously, and the things that we do consciously. as long as we can own up to it, accept it, forgive it, and let it go back into the ether because we've felt it and done the work with it, then we've healed these things in our life and we're ready for the next step. And I think that's where today we can really feel like we're ready for the next step. I feel like the universe is starting to spin faster than it has been. You know, I feel like we've been looking for something and it's definitely like showing up now. There's just signs everywhere. Things are clear as day. It can almost seem like they're too clear and they're like, wow. But it's a time to really build on everything you've learned. Everything that Pluto taught you in Capricorn over the last 16 years, where you've built up this soul integrity, this character, you know, figured out who you are and what you're going to do in the world. Like, now it's time to really be that. And I think these things are like the test of time in many ways for our soul. I feel like so much, like we've reached the mountaintop with Pluto here, the top of it, of so much of the karmic work that we've all had to do. Now it's like time to lead by example with the work that you've done. And that's Aries energy too. It's leading. And that's even Pluto finishing at Capricorn. Like, got to be a strong leader right now in your own life for yourself. And it's definitely like teaching us that there's nothing to prove at this point. You know, like that was the last 16 years with Pluto and Capricorn. I can prove that I can do this, I can do that. Like, we've already proved it all. I really think it's not about the proving, it's about the doing. Like, you have to walk the walk, right? Talk the talk, walk the walk. And this is where we all have to pay close attention, because we can, you know, definitely unravel ourselves by not doing that, saying we're going to do it and then not doing it. And, you know, trust me, I've done it too. I think we all do. Nobody's perfect here. But it's just like becoming more conscious of these areas in our life, because they're going to build more stability, more value, and help us understand things quicker, faster, and make moves, you know, when we need to. Mars is almost done with Gemini. It's going to come to 28 degrees. You know, we're just 4 days away from that Mars ingress into Cancer, which I've never been happy to see a Mars ingress into Cancer, but I'll be honest with you, I'm like, just bring it on at this point, you know. And yeah, this moon in Pisces, it can feel, you know, it can feel very dark in a lot of ways. There's just a lot becoming clear in our subconscious. And sorry, I just noticed some of these cards were out of order. And that can be hard. It can feel, you know, intense and, you know, emotionally difficult. I think we're all very sensitive right now, you know, and we're sensitive for good reason. We have to see things clearly and feel things. And sometimes the only way to do it is to actually have to feel what's going on, you know, can't just like bypass it anymore. So I think that's what makes, you know, today's energy a little bit difficult, but boy, yeah, there's so much to begin, so much to start, and a lot of identification and a lot of empowerment here. And, you know, this is a big rising moment, you know, if you think about it. The sun's rising over that northern part of the ecliptic. It's going to head north now. It's been in the south all winter, and it's spring now. So we're heading north, and it's important to, you know, find your North Star, find your guiding light, find your value, your confidence, your worth, all these important things in our life. And, you know, to be spiritually in alignment with that and bring it into the reality so that it's really merging as we leave Pisces season, to remember that Pisces does merge the spiritual with the reality. And it brings it all into the together, you know, all to the oneness that is all of it. So having to live in both worlds at once and figure these things out and realize that we've reached the top of a mountain and we're kind of identifying what the next mountain we're going to climb in our life is. But there's still karma being resolved on that mountain, but it's definitely like, okay, now show up with what you've learned. Take responsibility. That's the best thing I can say right now. If we don't take responsibility for our own lives, somebody will try and take responsibility over you. And that's not what any of us want at this point in our lives. Cards for today. Queen of Pentacles upright. Very fitting. I think that this is definitely let's find our ability to create. We need to know that we are literally here to mother this earth and even father it. But there's a feminine energy that needs to use its masculine energy to hold true to value and to create value. So it is definitely like an identification and a burst, but it's got to kind of, you know, be open to bursting into what the universe is bringing, so that you are realizing that there's tools coming at you everywhere to really stand firm in. And the 8 of Cups in reverse, that does feel like it's hard to move, you know, it's hard to walk away. Like, I feel like we're all having to second guess some part of our life, because there's something that we are just at a I don't know moment, but at the same time we do. And it just feels emotionally difficult and draining. And, you know, it's definitely something, you know, has to be felt again today, maybe, so that we can actually make that decision, find that identification, and really go towards the value that we want to hone in on. And the Page of Swords, I love that. That brings, you know, some nice curiosity, some youthfulness, some bounce, you know, having conversation. Maybe a lot of the things that get resolved today are resolved through a conversation. I think that it's important to definitely speak truth and be in your truth, listen, and, you know, take on what other people have to say, because, you know, we can assume all we want, but if we don't actually listen to what's being said, then we're just making assumptions. And it's a day to pay attention, listen, but to still know what is yours and what is not yours. Because I do think today it's so sensitive that we can feel like everything is just a mess. And the mess is so identified that we can kind of freak out a little bit. And there's so much edgy energy. We don't want to freak out too much, right? And the sun's going to start semi-squaring over to Uranus. That's bringing some erraticism, and we're also seeing Jupiter and Saturn in their semi-square. So there's just an underlying energy here that is trying to pop tops in our life. But again, this is because the old big journey and chapter and mountain has concluded, and we're all, you know, trying to find the youthful approach to what the next one is and what the truth is, and how to, you know, maybe leave, you know, certain aspects, but stay in certain aspects, but trying to navigate, you know, a lot of emotion in the same process, because there's just no denying emotion. But I do love getting this Queen of Pentacles first. I think that sums it up really well, because it's your life. You have to find value in it. If you don't find value in your life, nobody else will. And that's where the work has been for the last, what, year, right? Year and a couple months, 14 months. It's been about your self-worth and your value, and knowing it and creating it and building on it. We can't give up on that. It's definitely just an identification of where we weren't, and where we were kind of giving it up and hoping something else would come through for us. Now it's really take it onto yourself. There's always compassion. There's definitely, like, teamwork is still very important. You know, people are so important. People are the value, Uranus and Taurus. Everything else is up for grabs. We don't know, right? So important to remember that, but it always starts with ourselves too, and how we treat others and act, and the integrity. I think this is where the new beginning starts, and hopefully, you know, hopefully we've all done enough of that work to see some, you know, better roads ahead, but knowing that, you know, turbulence isn't ever over, and we didn't choose a time to incarnate where it was just going to be smooth sailing either. But I think we can always find smoothness if we choose to find that smoothness. But we can make this ride as rocky as we want to make it at the same time. So I love you all very much. I hope you have a beautiful Monday, and I'll be back in the office tomorrow, and I will see you then. Much love. Peace.